Hello, how are you?
Hi,
We are Martina and
Clement.
we are the directors of the Ecology, Sustainability and Permaculture Center here in the beautiful Malawi, the warm heart of Africa. And today we wanted to introduce you to our model of a resilient homestead that we are trying to develop here on our site. So what we have done so far is we have been looking at the reasons why a lot of the vernacular housing in our villages often collapses when there's heavy rains, when there's storms, and obviously more of these climate change induced catastrophes are hitting us now year by year. We have a lot of flooding, we have a lot of very heavy rains, and many people here build their houses with mud bricks that are either just sun-dried or they are burned with a very big amount of tree firewood or biomass from trees. That is one of the major contributors to deforestation in Malawi, which we have one of the highest deforestation rates worldwide actually. We have a very small country and we have many people, and as of now still about 95% of the people cook on biomass and use it exclusively for building materials, and so burning bricks is one of the major causes. At the same time, the buildings that people are then building are not very stable oftentimes when it comes to these extreme weather events. So last year we had the impact of Cyclone Freddy that has hit Mozambique and the south of Malawi, and we have had many houses in Malawi, officially about 300,000 destroyed by the effects of this ongoing heavy rains. And because of that we were very lucky to have a volunteer at the time who was also a structural engineer. So we went around into our surrounding communities to see why the houses really collapse and what are the common structural damages that it creates. And so based on that we developed kind of a model for a quick to build, relatively cheap, natural, sustainable house that would maintain the structure even if the wall is hit and partly eroded by the rain, and also how we can plaster houses without the need for expensive cement with just the available soil mixtures that we have in Malawi in many places, to make them just more protected from the rain damage itself. So here behind us you can see one of the examples for that. So this is our Post-Freddy House that we built just within a few weeks after the Freddy cyclone last year. And you can see that a little bit in the back of the veranda, and we'll show you some pictures in detail about it. But it's in essence a house that can be built in 2 weeks. As you can see, it looks quite fancy. You can use a normal iron sheet roof that many people also like to use nowadays, or the traditional thatching. You could also make a really good thatching roof with a proper angle. This is the way that most people do it nowadays, with a plastic in between. But we're also promoting better ways of building roofs in other contexts with training. And on our side, on the pictures, you can see some of the buildings that have a traditional thatching roof without any plastic sheeting. It just depends on the knowledge and the materials to kind of build properly.
Yes.
Then we can also save the plastics in there.
Sure.
So actually this house is pretty amazing because it's strong, it is insulating well in the cold and in the hot season. It is very easy to build, so we can teach people very easily how to do it. And we can involve everybody, the ladies and the gentlemen, the elderly and the young ones, in building this house in different kind of roles, and everybody can participate very quickly to make strong structures. It also has the advantage that even if we have, for example, termites, which is a big challenge in Malawi for natural building, we can always plan that into the kind of long-term strategy. So either, of course, you can adjust the foundation accordingly and protect it, but if you don't have that kind of money to put protection barriers in the ground, we can use a plan, so to say, and our layout in terms of replacing parts of the wall over time. That is also possible. But Clement has gone into areas in Malawi, for example, where these vernacular traditional buildings that were using gum poles, so eucalyptus and bamboo in a combination, about 50 years ago, were still standing, and even if some of them were hollow spaces, the structure itself was very strong, and so he still found them completely intact.
Yes.
And just checking inside the walls, and they would still be very strong houses today.
Really
and so
strong.
trying to bring that back, but without the gum poles because of the deforestation. So we have just devised a structure made from bamboo purely, that is then filled with soil and like hardened and then plastered with a natural plaster from outside. And we are also demonstrating different styles of plastering to people that they can learn that depend on where they are. And so apart from just like building really strong houses with materials that will be environmentally friendlier and also longer lasting, and for people to be better protected when the storm hits, it's also important that we have the actual homestead protected. So we have to build in erosion control, especially for the fields, but also around the houses. We have to build in the strong wind protection and the protection from heavy rains to even hit in the first place to the house. But we're also more and more depending on supply chains that really can't be trusted anymore. So we know already that the supply of thatching grass now is really low because of also the deforestation itself, because the ecosystems which had the thatching grass in it are really very much reducing. We also have realized that a lot of the bamboo resource itself has also gone down, and also people haven't been valuing it much in the past for the opportunities that it actually holds. So bamboo can be used for sustainable charcoal making, it can be used for roofing, it can be used for house building, as we have demonstrated. It can be used for furniture and so many other items of the daily life, cups and everything. So it also has a lot of green business opportunities. But as a matter of building material, it is a very good replacement for trees in many cases. At the same time, we do need biomass for our soils on the ground. We also need mulching, we need to make compost, we need to feed our animals, and we need to just have enough biomass for the cooking process and all that. So all these things are integrated into our sustainable homesteads. So you can see here on the ground there are some structures that look maybe a little bit strange to the eye in the beginning, but they are literally there to protect us from water runoff, so we can manage our water more effectively. We can make sure that we actually can hold a lot of the rainwater overflow that sinks the water down into the ground where we are, and that way we can grow our water tables depending on the topography of the ground and the location and the community where we are. And if that's done on community scale, it can make massive increases and improvements in terms of water availability and drought resilience of the community. We also have an element here. We built a little condi in the front, as you can see, of the house, which is made from rammed earth. So we have a combination of the bamboo wattle and daub style and the rammed earth here, which is again protecting the front of the house a little bit from heavy weathers, and at the same time creates an additional living space. In our case, it's an additional training space for groups as well. And then we have integrated some vertical farming. So you can see here we're using some kind of roof reinforcements that are at the same time serving as planting pots for different crops that are good to have just next to the house. In the Freddy cyclone, we had a situation where one tomato would eventually cost about 500, 600, 800 kwacha. I can't tell you exactly what that is in your currency at this point in time, so you can go and look it up. But it was just very, very much more expensive, about 5 times more than it would normally cost, because there was a rapid shortage because of the floods created by Freddy. The Malawian diet on average has tomatoes in it every single day, and so you can imagine the havoc that created in people's lives. So if we have things that are very close to our house to look after when there is a strong weather situation, then we can at least be a little bit more resilient for the kind of recovery time. And many people have to go a few kilometers to their bigger fields where their corn is growing, their maize is growing, or their vegetables are growing. So integrating some of that just next to the house using spaces to grow biomass. To also in the back you can see like a little garden using a stone wall there, using vertical spaces to create different microclimates where we can also grow plants and fruits that actually need hotter climate. Those are all things that we integrate into this Resilient Homestead training that we give people when we are helping them to establish and measure and map out their communities. And so this is just an example that is still growing. Of course, these trees are less than a year old, so they will still need some time to establish, but they're already providing a lot of biomass now for the household. There's also natural medicine integrated in there, and different fruit plants, different food plants, different animal fodder plants, so you can actually use it for many purposes. And it's always planned based on the demand of that particular household, if they're keeping animals. And we try to then integrate animals as well into the kind of resilient grazing plan. And that is why we will also talk about the waste cycle at the kitchen, where we are now going to go with you.